Ohio State won its opener by 20.
I thought they came out to shoot fast.
And still dropped in one goal. Are they looking for style points? Or just plain domination today against San Diego State?
Let's go. It's time to pick it up.
Urban Meyer against ball-hawking Bradley Roby.
That ball's in the air. You'd like to see, bam!
And big back Ron Smith back in the fold today.
That'll free up Jordan Hall maybe to help us in some other areas as well.
The stage is set for another edition of The Football Fever.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Football Fever. I'm Douglas Sells, along with Matt Finkus. Ohio State and San Diego State kicking off at 3:30 right here on ABC 6. The Buckeyes admitted they took their foot off the gas pedal last week when they jumped out to a 23-0 lead against Buffalo, and then they got outscored by the Bulls in the final three quarters. Yeah. The Buckeyes are vowing not to let that happen again today.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit, and Urban Meyer hit on it. I think this has a lot to do with leadership. When you come out and you start off that well, you look good in the first quarter, you're scoring 23 points, then all of a sudden you have a couple things go your way, and you don't have someone on the sidelines in that huddle that can kick a little butt and kick a little tail and get guys moving back in the right direction and say, hey, you know, that's an embarrassment that we didn't get that 4th and 1. Let's go out here and score 50 before halftime. That's where that leadership comes into play, I think, and that's what you saw here, and Urban Meyer hopefully addressed that and fixed it.
And obviously we'll address it later in the show, but he's got some of those leaders back who can help him fix it. Let's bring in Clay Hall and Obi Stillwell from outside the Horseshoe. Guys, a 20-10 win over Buffalo doesn't get you much love in the AP poll when Oregon is beating Nicholls State 66-3 in their season opener. How important is it for the Buckeyes to dominate San Diego State this afternoon?
Yeah, Doug, thanks very much. Obi Stillwell alongside, and the Mansfield wingtips, by the way, before I get to Doug's question. That's sweet right there.
With the matching belt.
Okay, matching.
Dad would be proud of me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you got your ensemble together. Is it important? I think it's important to note here the poll they dropped in really has no bearing on the BCS formula. They're number 2 in the coaches. Coaches don't care. They know how tough this racket is.
Right.
You win, you hold serve, you stay where they are. You know, they're not interested in style points.
And you know, the polls are really for us and the media and the fans, or especially at the beginning. Towards the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, obviously your ranking is going to be extremely important. But right now, I'm not bothered.
All right, let's take a look at team arrival as Urban Meyer and guys got in here, in fact, about 30 minutes ago, riding a 13-game win streak as they made their way from the Skull Session to the Shoe this afternoon. You can hear the fans. Keep in mind, Meyer lost only 2 games as the Utah head coach, and one of them was to New Mexico, coached by Rocky Long, who is now the head coach at San Diego State. So just your take on today.
Well, you know what? I honestly feel that we're going to see a more energetic team. I mean, we got some of the veterans back. We have C.J. Barnett back. We got Bradley Roby, though he's in a neck-to-neck starting role right now with Amari Reeves. I think we're going to see more energy today.
Let's hear what Urban had to say to the diehards at the Skull Session.
Buckeye football journey, game number 2. The best thing about 1-0 is a chance to go 2-0. Let's go do this together. We need the best damn band in the land and the best damn fans in the land that bring the energy to the stadium, and we're going to make this team step out when we want them to. Go Bucks!
Ha ha! Philly Brown. The Buckeyes 4 touchdown favorites against the Aztecs with, of course, their own trip to Cali on tap next week. Yeah. Now let's bring in our own tough guy, our own rush in, a man that shows no mercy off the edge. He is Jimmy Bell. JB,
hey, how you guys
welcome
doing?
back.
Good to have you back.
Listen, I am excited. I'm still riding on cloud a million from last
week. Okay.
The Buckeye season opener, it was my debut. And you know what? If you guys don't know, we had the hottest guy in the media business had a birthday.
Oh, easy. We don't count those, man.
Listen, right. I'm not going to tell you how old he told me he was.
No, 83.
One thing I understand about success in business is that you have to look good, you have to smell good, and you have to feel good. You know what? I also understand how hard it is for you guys to do that sometimes. So what I did for you as a birthday gift was to bring you a photo of me. So you'll never forget how to smell good, look good, and feel good.
Jimmy, why do I need a picture of Niall Diggs?
Right. I'm on the side.
Huh?
I'm the other guy.
Oh, 95, JB. With a special birthday greeting. Well, that's how you want Ohio State tackling today, huh? High 'em, low 'em.
Listen, the front seven has to bring it. I'm on them all year. I have faith and confidence in them, and our whole season is going to start and end with the front seven.
So you think the D's got to pick it up a little bit today?
Hey, all of the energy is with Adolphus and the crew.
Have
to.
All right, fellas, that's it for now. Let's send it back to you. I got a birthday gift, Niall Diggs.
Nicely done. The Buckeyes, of course, Matt, much closer to full strength today than they were last week. Tailback Carlos Hyde will miss 2 more games as part of his 3-game suspension, but Rod Smith is back after serving a 1-game suspension. The 6'3", 230-pound power back averaged more than 6.5 yards a carry last season. Ohio State also gets 2 starters back in the secondary. All-America cornerback Bradley Roby returns from a 1-game suspension, and senior safety C.J. Barnett is back in the lineup after missing the opener with a sprained ankle. Roby and Barnett are both 3-year starters. They bring stability to that secondary, Matt.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let's start with Rod Smith. He's a guy who's going to give you a glimpse of what you're going to see when Carlos Hyde comes back. He's going to allow this team to move Jordan Hall around a little bit and get in some different positions, play that H-back position a little bit, because when Carlos Hyde comes back, those guys are going to have to be on the field at the same time. Rod Smith is also a big physical guy that he's going to be able to pound inside and also break out. Bradley Roby, what else can you say? He is a shutdown corner who can take away half the field anytime he's on there. The quarterback will throw the ball away from him, and Doran Grant's going to have to be on top of his game to be able to keep up with what's going on here. Barnett can help this front seven get lined up. He's a leader. He's a 3-year starter in the secondary at the safety position. Communication is going to be key for those guys, and he can do it, and he can lead the way with communication, getting them all on the same page.
All righty, let's head back out to Ohio Stadium now. Bring in Maria Durant via the Subway fan cam. Maria.
Doug, I got to tell you, I have the best job of the day. I get to hang out with the Buckeye tailgaters. Oh, wait! And this little boy here, Cameron, he is, how old are you?
6 and a half.
6 and a half. This is going to be his first game here at the shoe, and he's brought me over some food here. What do you have?
Pulled pork, mac and cheese, and coleslaw.
What's your favorite on there?
Oh, mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese, yeah, mine too. And I gotta introduce you to another first. This is little Mitchell, right? Is that correct?
Mitchell.
And this is his first tailgate. How old is Mitchell?
He is 5 weeks old.
5 weeks old, and we're trying to keep him covered because of the sun. It's a little hot out here today, but we are definitely having a good time. And you know, next week we're going to be on the road. The team is going to be on the road, and if you want us to possibly come to your tailgate, well, all you got to do is enter our contest. It's really easy to do. You just enter the contest and let us know about your Buckeye spirit, and we may actually show up at your home live to tailgate with you. And I got to tell you, we are certainly having a great time here at the shoe. OH! One more time, OH!
I like the kid's name, Little Mitchell.
Yeah, how about that? Like yours.
Yeah, I got a little Mitchell at home.
Thanks a lot, Maria. We'll check back with you a little later in the show. Right now, let's bring in Clay Hall again, who visited with a very familiar face in the ABC broadcast booth. Clay.
Doug, thank you very much. Buckeye linebacking legend Chris Spielman will call the game today on ABC 6. Spiel's got a peek, by the way, at Alabama in Week 1. He called Alabama, Virginia Tech, so he's got a real take on where they are right now. I got his early take on the college football heavyweights.
Chris Spielman is convinced Buckeye quarterback Braxton Miller has some Heisman candidate company this season. The tempestuous Johnny Football of Texas A&M will certainly hang around, along with Clemson quarterback Taj Boyd, who led his Tigers past Georgia in a top 10 season opening showdown.
It's a very good football player, a dual threat guy like Braxton Miller, and won a big game. I mean, beating Georgia is a big win for Taj Boyd, and he's a good player surrounded by a lot of good weapons. So there's Heisman guys all over the place.
As for two-time defending national champ Alabama, who beat Virginia Tech in Week 1, it's a mixed bag. On one extreme,
outstanding, best defense I've seen on film ever since I've been doing college football.
Serious.
Yeah, it's best coached and the smartest, and combine that with talent.
On the other,
well, I think Alabama showed that people can compete with him because they didn't exactly light it up on offense last week.
As for the hometown Bucks, Spiel's talking defense today. He lived it, and now he analyzes it.
Get hydrated. I mean, if you're Ryan Shazier, you cannot miss a quarter and a half, and hopefully they'll solve that problem. And I don't know what the heat's going to be like, but that's one issue. The other issue is you create a little bit more of a pass rush.
You got to have pass rush. That makes for a good day for a linebacker. You had to carry Spiels off the field back in the day. I know we addressed this cramping a little bit last week. Sometimes that's a function of body fat, and Shazier, like Obi, has none.
Thank you, Clay. But you know what? The one thing too is that Spiels said that, you know what, he cramped one time during the game, and then after that he got an IV before the game, and then he got an IV at halftime. It's really the player's responsibility. I understand the trainers and all that kind of stuff, but you have to take your own responsibility. You know your body. You got to get what's needed in there to make sure that you're hydrated to perform.
Do you think they will have more pass rush today? And certainly I think having Roby and C.J. Barnett back say, hey, everything's good in the back end.
Yeah, and I also think it's just a matter of repetitions. I remember when I played in the stadium, my very first game starting was the Robinson Classic against Wyoming. I was hyped up. I thought I was ready to go. I was ready to take the helm, and I probably missed 6 tackles that probably could have made me, you know, a national figure.
Because
it was just my first time. I wasn't used to the speed. It was easy for me to watch Braves, Big Daddies, Lorenzo Styles, and Matt Finkes, but it's different when the pressure's on you. So this week, getting that game out of the way, getting those reps out of the way, I'm truly expecting them to get after it on the front 7.
And you know what? Curtis Grant is going to have to, he may have to have the game of his life today. I mean, I don't think that the Aztecs are going to actually attack us through the air. I mean, we have some of our veterans back. I think they're going to attack the middle, so we're going to have to be strong in the middle.
One word answer, who's Braxton's biggest competition at Heisman? Manziel, Taj Boyd, Marcus Mariota, Teddy Bridgewater. One.
Boyd.
Manziel.
All right, back to you guys.
All right, thanks a lot. The guys talked a little bit about the Buckeye defense with 7 new starters. That defense had a few breakdowns last week against Buffalo, but there were also a lot of positives.
Yeah,
Matt.
I think, let's start with the negatives. Obviously, the one negative off the bat that shown to me was situational defense. You put them in a short field. You as a defense have to take that as a challenge, that you're going to come up and make something happen there and make a big play. A couple times there over with the turnover on a short field, we let them come down and score. Positives. No big plays. They didn't have a whole lot of big plays against us. The touchdown with Ryan Shazier, that's just a tough play when a running back comes up, blocks you, then releases for a pass. I'd like to see a little bit more on the aggressive side. I think that, having some experience now, those guys playing together, that's going to allow these guys to be more aggressive, allow Luke to be more aggressive in his play calling. Having Bradley Roby back is going to be a game changer for them. And I think just the communication. So many times last year we saw this team miscommunications in the secondary, causing blown coverages. We didn't see that at all in week 1. Hopefully not again here in week 2.
So how do the Buckeyes stack up against San Diego State? Here's Ben Buchanan's Dodge Ram matchup.
All right, Buckeye fans, we're back at it for week 2 here on The Fever. Talking about the matchup this week, we have the 1-0 Ohio State Buckeyes. Man, that sounds good, doesn't it? Versus the 0-1 San Diego State Aztecs. Once again, we're talking a little offense, defense, special teams, coaching staff comparison, as well as a final prediction here on The Fever. So let's get right to it. Talking about the 2 offenses right off the bat, I like Ohio State. Braxton Miller is obviously a phenomenal athlete, Heisman Trophy candidate. This guy is 18 yards away from passing Cornelius Green as number 1 on the Ohio State rushing list for quarterbacks. We could see history on Saturday in the Horseshoe. My guy Jordan Hall, 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. Coach Urban Meyer named him the Offensive Player of the Week, rightfully so. I like the way he's running the ball. Obviously, we have Rod Smith returning as well, so I'm excited to see what number 2 can do in the backfield. Looking at the 2 defenses, I like Ohio State in this regard. San Diego State played Eastern Illinois last week, led up over 500 yards of total offense. So this is a struggling defense coming in. Our defense is just getting healthier every week. Talk about guys like C.J. Barnett, Bradley Roby that are coming back. Roby is obviously an All-American candidate for this year, an NFL talent. It's going to be great to have him back. Noah Spence, 2 tackles for loss, a sack last week. He's getting some penetration into the backfield. I like what our defense is doing this year for Ohio State. Silver Bullets are looking good. Talking about the 2 special teams comparisons, I like Ohio State. Obviously, I think Drew Basil's doing a great job kicking the football. He's putting the kickoffs high down the field, letting those guys run down and make plays. Cameron Johnston is just going to continue to get more comfortable the more reps that he takes. And I thought Philly Brown looked great returning the football, so I like the special teams in that regard as well. Coaching staffs, I have to go Urban Meyer. It's Urban Meyer versus Rocky Long. Rocky Long's been there for 3 years. He took over for the guy that we know at the team up north now, Brady Hoke. He was there for a while. Rocky Long's been there for 3 years. They've enjoyed some success, a 9-win season last year. They won their final 7 games, so this is a team that can close. That, they really have nothing to lose coming in here. That's why Urban and the guys have to stand on guard. Urban and Ohio State do own the longest winning streak in college football right now at 13 games. I fully expect that to go to 14 after this week's contest. Finally, final prediction. I was a little bold last week. I'm the new guy. I had to make my stance and get known. What can I say? I have confidence in my team and my coaching staff. So I'm going to say this week, 45 for Ohio State, 13 for San Diego State. I think that should do some justice. A win is a win. So I'm Ben Buchanan, and that was your Dodge Ram matchup.
All right, thanks a lot, Ben. Ben will be back. Will be back is what I was trying to say there. Later in the show with the Roush Honda Social Spotlight. We have this question on our Facebook page. Do you think the Buckeyes should have dropped in the AP poll from 2nd to 3rd after their 20-point win last week? Give us your thoughts at facebook.com/WSYXABC6. You can also tweet the show at The Fever ABC6 with the hashtag TFF or Buckeyes. We'll show your tweets at the bottom of the screen throughout the show. We'll also highlight some of your Facebook comments later in the broadcast. If we feature your comment, you'll get an Ohio State fan mug. It's a can and bottle cooler, mug, and desk caddy all in one. All righty, coming up on The Football Fever, the ladies take center stage with this week's Football 101. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Football Fever. Maria Durant joins us again from Ohio Stadium with this week's installment of the Giant Eagle Football 101 Clinic. Maria.
Well, Doug, every week we are going to highlight a question from our Football Clinic 101. This week's question from the ladies centers around the new way that players are taught to tackle. It's the topic that's been on the minds of not only the NFL, but the women at the Football Fever's Football Clinic 101.
With player safety in mind and the new rules regarding the helmet hits, how are the coaches training their players to tackle differently?
Former Ohio State linebacker Obi Stillwell just finished a class on the new training techniques to help prevent concussions. He says it comes down to the way players tackle.
A lot of times what young players do is they close their eyes on impact and they put their heads down.
To reduce the risk of concussions and neck injuries, he says players have to keep their heads up.
When you put your head down when you're tackling, it actually exposes the spine. One of the things they say is, see what you're hitting.
Former OSU defensive lineman Matt Finkes knows all too well about concussions. He's had 3 and still feels the effects.
There's issues that I've dealt with. I mean, about 5 years ago, I started having really bad migraines, and it's compounded, and I see a neurologist now.
Some players have suffered serious consequences from concussions. So this pair says learning the proper way to tackle is a good first step in trying to decrease the amount of concussions in the game they love. I'm Maria Durant, ABC 6 News. Now, of course, several companies are researching and trying to improve helmet technology. Right now, that technology is still under question on whether it really works to help prevent concussions. But we know what works when I say OH.
All right, thanks a lot, Maria. In the interest of preventing head injuries, the NCAA has added a new wrinkle to the helmet rule this season. If a player's helmet comes off, he has to sit out the next play, or he can go back in for the next play if his team takes a timeout. And new this year, there's now a 15-yard penalty if the player continues to play after losing his helmet, which Ohio State linebacker Curtis Grant found out the hard way last week against Buffalo, Matt.
Yeah, this might be the dumbest rule I've ever seen in college football. I mean, you've trained these guys for years to be aggressive and to attack and to finish plays and play to the whistle, and now you're going to tell them that just to stop. A lot of times you don't even know that your helmet has come off. I'm telling you, my helmet has popped off in the middle of a play and you don't know it. You just keep going. And to cause a 15-yard penalty for this is just crazy. I mean, blow the play dead, stop the play right there. That's fine. I think if you really want to, protect these guys, but, penalizing a guy for his natural instincts, that to me is wrong.
Yeah, very difficult. Urban Meyer sort of threw up his hands when they asked him this week about that. And he said, you got to stop. like you say, how you stop,
how?
I don't know,
I don't know how you
have
do you
to
stop.
Yeah, it's difficult. Straight ahead on the Football Fever, Nathan Baker will break down San Diego State. But first, let's listen in on the Ohio State Marching Band at this afternoon's Skull Session at St. John Arena. The fans getting geared up and then heading on over to the Horseshoe where the Buckeyes and the Aztecs kick it off 1 hour and 4 minutes from now on the Menards countdown to kickoff. San Diego State won 9 games last season, which made it all the more surprising when the Aztecs lost to a subdivision championship team earlier in the season opener. Nathan Baker has more on today's opponent.
San Diego State's going to see a big bump in talent Saturday, going from a game against Eastern Illinois to the second-ranked Buckeyes.
I try never to panic, and I don't fear anything.
SDSU's Rocky Long has seen his share of players over 4 decades of coaching, but admits OSU has talent like no other.
There's a whole bunch of good players on that team. There's so many of them that the only one that everybody knows the name is the quarterback. I mean, they put 2 freshmen in there on the first game of the year that were as fast or faster than anybody I've seen on a football team.
One of the best football teams, we're going to play this year. They're, top in the country, 1, 2, or 3, whatever poll you look at. I mean, they're a great football team.
After losing by 21 to Eastern Illinois, the Aztecs know they can't focus on the team across from them, just themselves.
I mean, it could be Ohio State, it can be Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, it could be Eastern Illinois. I mean, it could be anybody. We have to worry about what we have to do.
A mismatch maybe, but it's hard to weigh a team's chances when they come in humiliated and looking to reverse their fortune.
I sense that our team is upset and embarrassed about the way they played, and they're more worried about getting better than they are about who they play.
With San Diego State, I'm Nathan Baker for the Football Fever.
All right, thank you very much, Nathan. When we come back, Browns fans remember him as the leader of the Cardiac Kids. Brian Sipe is back in the Buckeye State today on the opponent's sideline. We'll be right back on the Football Fever.
Wasn't given anything, boy, I earned my spot. On my Sammy Davis on my way to the top. Stay in my lane and I follow my blocks. Network will have me, go with have not. Chase with a chip and it's not just a dream. Stay undefeated with me and my team. Stay out the way, working out every day, man. I'm chasing to become the king. And chasing to prove I'm the best. Chasing the show, I won't settle for less. Chasing to make it progress, I'm so set to impress and I'm ready for whatever's next. If I can't do it, baby, no one can. The chase to be champion is controlling my life. If I can't do it, baby, no one can. Walking out without a win, we don't know what it's like. If I can't do it, baby, no one can.
Ohio State nose guard Chris Carter and the other sophomores on the Buckeye roster, you know what? They literally don't know what it's like to walk out without a win. The Buckeyes have yet to lose since those sophomores arrived on campus. Braxton Miller needs just 18 yards this afternoon to set a new quarterback career rushing record at Ohio State, passing the old mark of 2,080 yards set by Cornelius Green 38 years ago. Matt, Braxton might break that record on his first carry today.
Yeah, he very well might. And even with Urban Meyer forcing him to stay in the pocket, preaching him, stay in the pocket, make your reads, we want to prepare long-term for this. He did speak about maybe giving Braxton a couple more designed runs as this game goes on. But yeah, I mean, Braxton Miller is just such a natural talent, such a natural athlete. The big plays always happen when he breaks down in the passing game and takes off and catches the team off guard. And just look for him to really, really get some exciting runs in today. I think that he's going to break out against this team.
Let's go back into the memory banks. Cornelius Green's Ohio State quarterback career rushing record stood for 38 years, as we said. Green averaged just under 5 yards a carry and ran for 29 touchdowns in his 3 seasons as the Buckeyes starting quarterback from 1973 through 75. Like Braxton Miller, Corny left a lot of defenders grasping at air, Matt.
I'll tell you what, I mean, you think about the backfield that he had with Pete Johnson and somebody named Archie Griffin at the same time as well. How is he getting that many yards? I mean, were we rushing for 400 yards a game? I'll tell you what, it's incredible. But yeah, Corny Green, kind of a man before his time. You know, the Tommy Frazier before Tommy Frazier at the quarterback position. Just special to have him here, and I know he's probably going to be real excited for Braxton, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, tailback Jordan Hall rushed for a career-high 159 yards and 2 touchdowns in last week's win over Buffalo. Hall will be the starting tailback again today, but with the return of Rod Smith, look for Hall also to line up as the H-back on some plays. Urban Meyer wants to get his speedy senior into the open field, running and catching the ball.
Yeah, and I think that's what we alluded to in the pregame here. You're going to see him in a little bit more of that H-back role, because when Carlos Hyde comes back, Jordan Hall, it might be his spot to lose, but that's too many talented guys to not have on the field. You've got to get Jordan Hall and Carlos Hyde on the field at the same time. So look for him to get some more reps at that H-back spot, along with the running back position. 45 yards away from having 3,000 career all-purpose yards here at Ohio State. A great mark and a great achievement if he can get it here today.
Chris Fields and Dontre Wilson and Philly Brown will also probably line up as the H-back from time to time today. Fields had 2 touchdown catches last week. All right, a Cleveland Browns fan favorite will be on the San Diego State sideline today. Let's go back out to Clay Hall at Ohio Stadium with more on that. Clay.
Doug, thanks very much. Former Browns quarterback Brian Sipe from the Cardiac Kids, you guys are too young to remember that, is back in the Buckeye State. But this guy's got some friends north of the border. What's going on?
Yeah, you know what? Brady Hoke says that he talks to Brian Sipe like once a week or once every other week. I know it's a little early to talk about Michigan right now.
About who?
It's a little irritating to me. You know, why are you talking to Brian Sipe that much?
There you go. Sipe is the San Diego State quarterback coach who is well remembered by a young kid from Ashtabula.
Retigliano's enthusiasm and passion lifted the team from the depths of mediocrity.
Brian Sipe played in Cleveland from 1972 through 83 and 3 times ranked among the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL for passing yards. His heroics certainly made an impression on a young fan from Ashtabula who later became a coach.
I was young. I just was a huge, I remember going and watching the game, watching him play in the old stadium. Loved it.
Did Urban Frank Meyer have his favorites back in the day? We all did. I sidetracked Wednesday's media briefing with a little walk down memory lane.
Of course, the Buckeye Paul Warfield I've always identified with Ozzie Newsome, and so I'm sure that has to do with the San Diego State game. But I am a big Browns fan. Thanks for asking, Clay. That's good. Yeah.
Greg Pruitt, he was pretty good. Specifically, obviously, some of
Greg Pruitt, yes.
Yeah. Some of it
Tom Darden.
Yeah.
Fair Hooker.
Tom Darden. Yeah.
Jerry Shirk.
Now you're into it.
Yeah.
This classic NFL Films video makes this era all the more romantic.
Deep to Rucker, he's open, touchdown! It's over! Reggie Rucker, pass from Sipe.
Reggie Rucker, baby. As I said, you guys are you're babies. You don't remember Brian Sipe. But you had your own football heroes, right?
Yeah, you know, I did. They used to compare me in high school to Kevin Mack.
I can see that.
They compared you?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Can that be confirmed?
Yeah. I mean, they did. They said I kind of looked like him, too. But I used to love Kevin Mack, man. He was a beast.
He was clowning on you.
Oh, always.
Well, for me, coming from northeastern Ohio, the same area from Youngstown, Ohio, what we call the hotbed of football, I didn't necessarily have a favorite player, but football was everything in Youngstown. So we grew up with the DeBartlos and the San Francisco 49ers. Most people don't realize that they have been headquarters in Youngstown for years. In their heyday, all came through Youngstown, Ohio. You know, Bernie Kosar, who followed Brian Sipes from Youngstown Boardman, you know, we went to go play him, but on the way to the game, you always see the headquarters of the San Francisco 49ers.
Fellas, I lived in Kansas City for a couple of years as a kid, and I was a huge Chiefs fan. This is back in the day. This is Hank Stram, 65 toss power trap.
I can tell because
and we hated the Oakland Raiders, man. And the Chiefs and the Raiders were big-time rivals. A couple of these guys went to our church. Lenny Dawson, Jimmy Marsalis, Buddy Bell, Ed Podolak. I can name the roster.
Is that authentic? Is that from back in the days?
Dude, that thing's about 45 years old.
It has to be. It's so faded that I believe it is.
That was back
it's worth something.
In the Super Bowl days.
It's worth something.
Good memories here, fellas. Back to you.
All right, guys. Clay, I don't want to date us, but I was a fan of his arch rival, the Oakland Raiders. And I'm talking pre-Kenny Stabler. This is Darryl LaMonica.
I don't even know who that is.
I actually, you don't remember Darryl LaMonica. That's right. You'd have to go back into the history books. So, yeah, we don't want to talk too much about that. And have people figure out exactly how old we are.
I thought, does he not own an Italian restaurant?
No, that's a different. That's Lamonico's. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's move on to the weather. It's a lot cooler than it was last week at the Horseshoe. ABC 6 Chief Meteorologist Bill Kelly has the OSU Wexner Medical Center game day forecast. Bill.
All right, guys, it's looking good for the game day forecast. It's looking warm, I'll tell you that. Not like last weekend. Last weekend it was really hot when you accounted for that humidity out there. But here's what we're looking at. We have temperatures generally in the 80s. I do expect a few of those clouds out there to continue to increase as we get on into the evening hours. But basically, kickoff time, you want to drink plenty of water. You want to have plenty of sunscreen if you are going to be down. That sunlight's just going to be beating down on you despite any clouds out there. So plenty of sunscreen out there for sure. Right around 84 degrees here at 5 o'clock. It's very warm, not too humid out there. We don't have those high dew point temperatures. And then 79 or so, say, at 7 o'clock with some of those increasing clouds. A nice Saturday evening. But as we get into your day tomorrow, we are expecting that possibility of a few showers late tonight and into tomorrow. As look at your forecast, as always, go Bucks.
All right, thanks a lot, Bill. Let's take a look at this week's AP College Football Poll brought to you by your Central Ohio Ford dealers. Alabama, no doubt about it, still on top. As we mentioned, Ohio State slips from 2nd to 3rd behind Oregon. Clemson moves up 4 spots to number 4 after the Tigers' big win over Georgia in the season opener. Stanford rounds out the top 5. Notre Dame is 14th. The Irish play 17th ranked Michigan tonight. Northwestern moves up 3 spots to 19. Wisconsin is up 2 spots to number 21. And Nebraska dropped 4 spots to number 22 despite winning last week, Matt.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I'm not a big fan of the preseason polls or even the week 1, 2, 3. I mean, I think you should start polling in week 4.
Yeah.
You know, you get a good measure. Everyone's played at least 3 games. You're going to know what you got there. And it's the AP poll. Doesn't even matter.
That's a good point.
You know, come on. You vote in the SID poll. I mean, the coaches poll.
Or the Matt poll.
Yeah, exactly.
As always, we want to hear from you here on the Football Fever via Facebook or Twitter. Ben Buchanan rejoins us now with the Roush Honda Social Media Spotlight. Ben, we asked fans what they thought about the Buckeyes dropping a spot in the AP poll despite that win in the season opener. What do those fans have to say?
That's right, Buckeye fans. We're talking a little social media again here on the Fever. We asked the question, do you think the Ohio State Buckeyes should have dropped a spot in the AP poll after their 20-point win against Buffalo last week? Obviously very interesting. Let's take a look. Right off the bat, Chris Barlow says, as overrated as the preseason polls are, unless you lose, no one should drop. The only changes should be if a team loses, period, the end. Obviously very opinionated. We like that, Chris. Moving on, Judy Brown says, what counts is that they don't lose any games and go all the way undefeated. Go Bucks. I like the enthusiasm. Very good, Judy. Lastly, right here, Randall Dockery says, not hitting on all cylinders yet. Some teams are. I expected a drop of 2 or 3. Definitely top 5, but not top 2 yet. But we will get there by November. I like what Randall said, guys. Something Coach used to always say that stuck out with me is that September is for the pretenders, but November is for the contenders. So something to think about. That's social media. Back to you.
Bottom line, win all your games, you take it out of the pollsters' hands.
Yeah, I think if we're 23-0 going in, they'll probably want us to play in that national championship game.
As always, we want to hear from you on the Football Fever. Send us your comments on our Facebook page at facebook.com/WSYXABC6. Or you can tweet us at The Fever ABC6 with the hashtag TFF or Buckeyes. The best damn band in the land is even bigger today with the addition of the alumni band. Maria Durant rejoins us now on the Subway Fan Cam with more. Maria?
That's right, Doug. Every year the alumni band members, they return to the shoe, and today is the day. In fact, we caught up with them just a little bit earlier as they were practicing before their debut. The band performs today to mark the 40th anniversary of the first women joining the best damn band in the land. About 700 former members will take to the field again this afternoon. We talked to Shelley Graff, who was the first drum major for the band. She joined back in 1981.
It's a thrill to be a part of this organization. All these great musicians, I'm just so proud to say that I'm a part of it. Still get chills watching the drum major come out and, you know, doing the back bend and wanting to make sure they go down and throw the goalpost toss and catch it.
Now, although we we don't see her do it. Shelly says she can still do that back bend. She says it was just much easier when she was younger. But what I can show you right now is, take a look at this. This is Beth. Beth is a former Bengal. And she is going to teach little Sophia her routine. Go ahead, you guys. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, up. Go. Shake. Shake.
Very nice. Thanks, Maria and the young cheerleader. Time now for the Toyota toss-up. In the studio, we have Ben Buchanan and Matt Finkes. And from outside Ohio Stadium, it's Obi and Clay and Jimmy Bell. Our first question, Ohio State raced out to a fast start, but then cooled off in the season-opening win over Buffalo. How do the Buckeyes keep the pedal to the metal today against San Diego State? Ben and Matt?
Well, I think what they need to do is you got to have a guy who's going to step up in the huddle.
Sure.
You got to have a guy who comes off that 4th and 1 and says, man, you know, we just got embarrassed. This is Ohio State. This is the shoe. We don't do that here. We're going to go out and just score another 25 right here and not fumble, not turn the ball over, not get a pick six. That leader and that leadership problem, I think, is kind of starting to raise its head here right now.
Well, I think you brought up a good point. It's really about the vocal leadership. You're talking about guys in the huddle. You know, Braxton Miller, it has to start with him. Guys on the defense. Ryan Shazier is going to be a guy that is going to step up. You have to just realize, like, hey, you know, we've been here before, but, you know, it's the next game, it's the next play, and that's all you can worry about is the next play in football. So,
all right, Clay and Obi, what do you think?
Well, you know what? I believe that Braxton Miller and Ryan Shazier was extremely important in last week. I mean, if you look at any magazine, those are the two guys that are there. They're out with cramps. If they're out with cramps, there's not much you can do. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Cramps, I'm sorry, no excuse. When we played, you were prepared. We prepared in the summer to do 60-something plays, no substitutes at all. There's no excuse. The bottom line is, it's attitude. We all have the athletic ability. They all have the athletic ability. They have to have the attitude that no matter what it takes, we're willing and we will do what it takes.
Thanks a lot, Jimmy and Obi. Next up, who is your pick to be today's game changer? Let's go right back out to Obi and Jimmy. Guys, what do you think?
Today's game changer, you know what? I put it squarely on Curtis. On Curtis Grant, the middle linebacker. I think that the Aztecs are not going to attack us through the air. They're going to attack us through the ground. They saw how Buffalo pushed us around last week. So, hey, Curtis Grant, welcome, baby. They coming to the shoe, and they're coming at you.
Welcome to the shoe. I totally agree. I'm not just going to give it to one person. It has to be the front four. You can put the front seven in there. It has to be the front four. If we do not solidify that thing, teams are going to come in from here to the end of the season smashing that soft middle. They have to harden it, and they have to toughen it up.
Ben and Matt, who's your game changer today?
You know, Matt, I'm going to say Philly Brown. You know, just watching him in the first game last week, I thought he was phenomenal, just laying out for the football. You see guys that are, you know, putting their full effort out there. They're extending for the football. He's a guy that's enjoyable to be in the locker room with. He's a good personality, but really seeing him sell out for the football, that tells me he wants the ball, and I think he's going to do some good things.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to go on the defensive side of the ball and go with Tyvis Powell.
Okay.
He's the nickel guy there. You're going up against a quarterback who threw 4 picks last week, and he's also going to be instrumental when they do that spread run. So I think Tyvis Powell, he's a big physical guy who can play. He's got a great burst to the ball. I look for him to get a couple of takeaways and be in on some of those tackles when they try to run the ball too.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Think you know more than these guys on the Football Fever? Well, here's your chance to prove it with our Football Fever Pick'em game. Just go to the Football Fever page at abc6onyourside.com each week and pick the winners of 15 college football games for your chance to win some great prizes. Our Week 1 winner, Jason Atkins. He wins a $50 American Express gift card from our good friends at Roush Honda, although Matt Finkes thinks he should have won. Jason got 12 points last week. He won with the closest score on the prediction for the tiebreaker game. Again, to sign up, go to the Football Fever page at abc6onyourside.com. And if you look at the fine print, Matt, it says host not eligible.
Hey, Jason, come on at me. I had 14.
All right, the keys to the game are coming up on the Football Fever. Welcome back to the Football Fever, and let's go back out to Ohio Stadium where Clay and Obi have the Greater Columbus Kia Retailers keys to the game.
Indeed.
All right.
Doug, thank you very much. And truth be known, I put the keys in yesterday afternoon. My man texts me, what, 12:15 last night?
Yeah.
His are much better.
You texted me back,
Yes,
too.
we have overwritten Clay Hall's keys. Number one, bets on the bets.
Bets on the bets. You know what? We got CJ Barnett. We got Bradley Roby coming back. Expect them to bring a lot of energy to the game today.
Rocky and Long.
Rocky and Long. Rocky Long is the head Aztecs head football coach. His experience in the horseshoe should be Rocky and Long.
We actually were right on that one, you and I both. Number three, don't take Grant for granted.
Don't take Grant for granted. You probably heard me say it 4 times already. Curtis Grant has to clog up that middle today. He needs to have possibly the game of his life.
There you go. Central Ohio key dealer.
Keys to the game.
Keys to the game, baby. Let's go back to you.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. Your keys to the game, Matt?
I think just, again, having that leadership show up on offense. Don't let the foot off the gas. If something, happens adversely, you come right back and you put your foot back on their throat. On defense, I look for them to be more aggressive. I look adding Bradley Roby is going to be a big help to the signal caller and Luke Fickell and to that defense and shutting down half the field and allowing that defense to play with a little bit more aggression and maybe mix in a little bit more blitzes there and get those young guys going and get them off the edge a little bit more.
All right, we're going to come back with some final thoughts right after this quick timeout. The horseshoe starting to fill up. Ohio State and San Diego State kick it off at 3:30 right here on ABC 6. Let's send it back out to Clay, Obi, and Jimmy for some final thoughts, guys.
All right, thanks so much, JB. I'll let you go first.
Listen, we've been talking about players all day, which we should. You know what? Not too much has been talked about the coaches. See, Coach Urban Meyer has an awesome record. He's only lost 23 games in his entire career. One of his losses has come from Coach Long.
Right.
When Coach Long was at New Mexico State and Coach Urban Meyer was at Utah. Coach Meyer has been running the same offense since Bowling Green, and there's something to be said about a coach that knows the tendencies about another coach. I call it the gauntlet. Today is going to be the gauntlet, mano y mano, Coach Long and Coach Meyer.
Are
Who's
you
going to come out on top?
something?
Just a little MMA action.
All right.
You know what? I say, as they say, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Tyrones and Joes. You know what I'm saying? It's about the players. And this is not New Mexico, and this is not Utah.
Right.
It's the horseshoe behind us.
Right.
And we recruit better talent, and we put better talent on the field.
Absolutely.
That's what it's going to come down to. And Coach Meyer, as far as Amani Reeves and going back and forth with Bradley Roby, he said that they're neck and neck on the depth chart.
Don't believe it.
I don't totally believe that. It's kind of like, you know when you put your kid on punishment, or say, hey, you know what, you're grounded, you can't go spend the night at your friend's house for this weekend. And then your wife reminds you, hey, babe, we're supposed to go to Chicago this weekend. Then you say, okay, when we get back from Chicago, you're on punishment. So Coach Meyer is not going to allow the team to sacrifice.
Speaking of talent, Rod Smith will wear number 7 today, Jordan Hall number 2. They have switched numbers. Ohio State announced it within the hour. Rod Smith number 7, Jordan Hall number 2. Let's go back to you.
Man, it's tough for a punter to get a word in edgewise. But, Ben, your final thoughts about today's
game? Yeah, guys, I just want to see a clean game today. That's something that Coach Meyer would always talk to us about, playing a clean game, 4 complete quarters. I'm just going to look for them to play consistent football today.
All right, before we go, we have to recognize a very important day for a member of our Football Fever team. And let's send it right back out to Maria Durant. Maria.
You guys ready? We're going to sing. Everybody ready?
Oh, my gosh.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Clay. Happy birthday to you.
Nice. All righty. Enjoy that birthday, Clay. That'll do it for the Football Fever. The Buckeyes and the Aztecs kick it off 30 minutes from now right here on ABC 6. We're back next week at 6 on our sister station, Fox 28, counting you down for the first road game of the season against Cal. Until then, enjoy the game, everybody.